Hello, everyone. Welcome to Black Man Speak. I'm your co-host, the J.R. Stewart.
And I'm your co-host, the Tommy D. Duncan III, otherwise known as TD3. It is Wednesday night, April the 9th, 2025. And if it's Wednesday night,
It's certainly Black Man Speak. So, Tom, I want to say this to our listening audience and watching audience. What a pleasure it is every week to come out here and do this show and to work with my co-host, the TD Duncan III. Um, and if you haven't already, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Even if you've already subscribed, resubscribe just to make sure that YouTube did not kick you out at one of the at sometime in the past and didn't notify us. So it doesn't hurt to resubscribe. And then if you're here watching the show live, invite a friend, family member, neighbor to watch it with you, so you guys will have something interesting to talk about. And with that being said, Tom, let's do what we do best, which is bring information and stories, which Tom does a great job of going out and finding these stories every week, people, and bringing on the guests that we have for this show. So he does a wonderful job as our news director and producer. So let's do what we do best, Tom. What do you have for us?
all right, folks, y'all get on that chat line and want to hear from you on our stories. But let's go ahead and get started with some news. I have something, Jimmy, that I think that you will definitely appreciate.
Okay.
We have a former serviceman who passed or who died during the bombing on Pearl Harbor, who has finally come back home. After more than 80 years, Jimmy, a black soldier killed during the attack on Pearl Harbor was finally laid to rest in his home state of North Carolina. On Thursday, last week, April the 3rd, Navy mess attendant third class Neil Fry received full military honors as his remains were welcomed home and buried at Sand Hill State Veterans Cemetery in Spring Lake, North Carolina.
Where was his remains before, Tom?
They were in Honolulu, but I will get to that.
Okay.
That day also would have been the late veteran's 104th birthday. The burial was attended by many of his descendants, and his only surviving sibling, one out of nine, his youngest sister, 87-year-old Mary Fry McCrimmon. She was only 3 years old when he enlisted into the military. Fry, who enlisted after another brother had joined the military, worked in the messman branch, a racially segregated part of the U.S. Navy that oversaw feeding and assisting other officers. And for those of you, especially younger people during that time, unfortunately, brothers and sisters could not get all the jobs that were available to them, of course, because they were black, and it was still legally segregated in this country.
Highly segregated back then, Tom.
Huh?
The military was highly segregated back then.
Exactly. So Fry was one of 2,000 Americans killed when Pearl Harbor was bombed on December the 7th of 1941 while he was on board the USS West Virginia. The bombing became the impetus for the United States entering World War II, and I'm pretty sure those of you who studied and paid attention to history probably remember that. But until recently, Fry's remains were in Honolulu, buried in the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific, known as the Punch Bowl.
Okay.
With the other remains of unknown crewmen from the USS West Virginia. The family began working with the Defense Prisoners of War MIA accounting agency in 2014 to locate his remains. Meanwhile, in 2017, the 35 remaining unidentified remains from the USS West Virginia were exhumed and sent to the DPAA laboratory in Hawaii for analysis. After 10 years, the DPAA announced in December that Fry had been accounted for on September the 27th. Fry's niece, Carol Fry Davis, said that his memory was kept alive through his siblings over the years, even though he was gone. She added, he had his life ahead of him and he was cut down at the tender age of 20, but he did it for his country. While Fry's parents and many of the people who knew him have long since died themselves, Fry McCrimmon said, I know my mom and dad. There's any kind of way they know about this, I know they would be very, very happy. So all that being said, we want to definitely offer our condolences and our congratulations on the family that has exhumed and has found the remains of their loved one, Neil Fry.
Very great story, Tom. Very interesting, and I'm glad for the family, man, that they could finally put some closure on this. Um, have someone that's just missing, unidentified, and lost for when they made a sacrifice like that is amazing. So um, good for the tenacity of the family to stick with it and to see this through to the end. And I'm glad that our government stepped up and did the right thing, Tom. So it's a win-win story with a happy ending for everyone. So
And at the end of the day, this also helps the family bring closure
yes, it does.
to their loved one. So again, we want to thank the military for doing its job, and be very, very happy for the family to bring closure to this part of their history. All right, let's go to another interesting story. I mean, it kind of involves a little sports and basketball, but a
All
very
right.
interesting story for those of you who may not know. Mattel, the company that built the Barbie brand, recently announced the LeBron James doll, which is the inaugural Ken doll of a professional athlete. The doll, created in partnership with the LeBron James Family Foundation, will also commemorate James's addition as the brand's first Ken ambassador. Never heard of that. But Barbie recently celebrated its 65th birthday. James worked closely on the doll, from its taller stature than the standard Ken, and a varsity jacket with patches referencing his Ohio upbringing, and his 23 jersey number, and the We Are Family initiative on his foundation. While the Ken Bassett doll plays tribute to James's historic career in the NBA and as a global phenomenon, he explained the doll's deeper significance himself. He said, as a young kid, I was fortunate enough to have role models who not only inspired me, but also showed me what's possible through hard work and dedication. Now, as an adult, I understand how vital it is for young people to have positive figures to look up to. That's why partnering with Barbie to release the LeBron James Ken Ambassador doll is such an honor. It's an opportunity to recognize the powerful impact of role models who instill confidence, inspire dreams, and show kids that they too can achieve greatness. Barbie will also donate to the LeBron James Family Foundation to help its mission of supporting underserved families and children in Akron, Ohio through housing, education, training, and more.
All right, Tom. I'm disappointed.
Okay, why are you disappointed, Jimmy?
Okay, first of all, back in the day when I was in school, a long time ago, ancient time, pants that short were called high waters. Man, who's trying to bring these things back and make it fashionable? On top
Well,
of that,
that's hey, Jimmy, that's what young people are wearing. If you haven't been looking, that's
I
what
have
young
I
people
am
are wearing.
never going to accept skinny pants on a man, especially a man the size of LeBron. If you were Michael Jackson, it would be different. But even he didn't wear skinny pants. He did wear the high waters though. He wore his pants short sometimes to show off his socks. But he can get away with it, Tom, because that's MJ. But LeBron is too large of a man to be wearing skinny pants and high waters, man. Come on. I like the concept, man. I'm glad that he's doing it and lending his image for something positive like this, man. But brother, man, you should have called me before, on the jeans and got my advice first before you okayed the this to go into production. The
Okay,
skinny pants and high waters is not a good look for LeBron.
all
I'm
right,
sorry.
Jimmy. Are you saying he should be wearing some bell bottoms? What do you
No,
recommend?
I'm just saying you should wear some normal pants, normal jeans, like a regular man. Skinny pants and high waters is not good for a guy of his stature. He's too big of a man for that, Tom. You got to have the right frame to get away with that. And yeah, the skinny pants and the high waters, man, don't do it for me. I'm sorry.
Gotcha. I understand. Well, you may be right. We're a little bit old school. These young folks, I've seen them. They wear these little skinny pants that are flooding a little bit, so they can show the fact that they're not wearing socks.
Is that it?
Yeah, man. Hey, that's where it is. I mean, they flood a little bit because most of them not wearing socks anyway, so they can see their ashy ankles. I don't know. We got a
I don't
couple of
get
folks.
it.
We got a couple of folks on the chat line, so I'm going to ask what they think about it. We got cousin Audrey K on here. We got
Audrey, get it
Lasagna
from
on
a
here. We
woman's
got
perspective.
There we go. We've got brother Freddie Roberts. He says, I'm disappointed too. LeBron did not need Barbie brand to sell his product. But Barbie is probably one of the most world-renowned brands. So if nothing else, LeBron is about his business. He's a billionaire, if I recall,
Right.
already. So he is trying to build and expand his brand.
Yeah, so then Mattel, man, has already got the production, got the distribution, got the channels already set up. So there's nothing wrong with partnering with someone who has everything in place to make this happen.
So I
But,
want to
but,
hear what everybody thinks.
but
I think,
give us your opinion on the pants.
yeah, okay. I'm going to pull it up again just so everybody can see if you haven't seen it yet. They got he's got
Skinny
the
pants and
lemon
hot
jacket.
water. Tom, come on, that does not look like the GOAT. Tom Brady would never wear something like that. You cannot be petitioning for GOAT status wearing skinny pants. I'm sorry.
All right, we're gonna have to hear from our fans as to what they think about the outfit. He's got the Letterman's jacket on. He's got the
The
King James.
shoes, the jacket, the hat, everything else is cool.
Oh, everything that's cool. But so what kind of pants does he need to be wearing, Jimmy?
Just regular pants, Tom.
Okay,
Manly
just regular pants.
pants.
Well, they might be saying those look like old man pants to be wearing regular pants. Say they look like an old
Regular
man.
pants, Tom. The kind of pants you and I would wear. Neither one of us would be caught dead in skinny pants like that. So the GOAT.
I got you. Well, Miss Tanya said I hate skinny pants on men. I agree. Oh my God, she agrees with Jimmy on something.
Thank you, Miss Tanya. I knew there was something great about Miss Tanya besides the pastries. There you go, Miss Tanya. Shout out to Miss Tanya.
All right. In that case, we'll continue to get some feedback on that. But at any rate, congratulations to LeBron James, his family foundation,
and the kids and the families that they're going to help. So, yeah, congratulations to all of them.
All right, good deal. Let's go ahead and move to a few more serious stories in the news. James, we haven't really talked about what's been going on, at least on the international stories in quite a while, but a couple of stories we wanted to bring up. It was interesting. I was looking through the news and trying to find out, what's been going on lately in Haiti. We've kind of been keeping up with what's been going on there, in addition to, of course, the Kenyan forces that were over there. And I thought it was interesting. They had this story about some jazz festival in Haiti, in Port-au-Prince, where everything is gone. But, it didn't get the headlines like this. So we're going to talk about it today, and that's Haitian children and the issues that, of course, the violence, the illicit firearm industry has going on over there. But a growing number of children in Haiti, Jimmy, a demographic already bearing the weight of the country's gang crisis, are being disproportionately killed by firearms, a direct result of the widespread availability of illicit weapons, according to a news report of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. Between July 2024 and February 2025, at least 94 boys and 53 girls were killed, and 34 boys and 16 girls were injured in violence linked to armed groups. Firearms were responsible for 92% of the casualty. The findings followed a January report by the UN Children's Fund that found 1 in 8 children displaced within Haiti. The vulnerability of children in Haiti caused recruitment by gangs skyrocket to 70% in 2024 alone, with nearly half of the Haitians gang members estimated to be under 18, almost half. Not only do children fall victim to gang violence, but they also directly targeted for kidnapping and sexual violence. Most of the perpetrators use the threat of arms to prevent victims from resisting. The ubiquitous presence of guns is central to the gang's use of violence. The widespread presence of weapons played a role in preventing victims from resisting or escaping, for that matter. Among the 705 people abducted during the reported period, 12 boys and 3 girls were minors, while 87 girls between the ages of 8 and 17 were victims of sexual violence and or assault. Despite only completing education up to the 8th grade, Michelle's primary goal is just to return to school, which is what most kids want to do. And Jimmy, this is just a bad situation that continues to go on in Haiti. It gets very little news. We get, of course, a lot of news on what's going on, of course, in Gaza. We get a lot of news of what's been going on in Ukraine until, of course, after 20, and it's really been all focused on the president. But, very little attention has been given to what's going on, other than the so-called gang violence that was created by countries that have debilitated Haiti since it gained its own freedom over a century ago.
Okay, so armed groups is just a fancy way to say gangs. This
Right.
is the problem they have in Haiti is just the gangs. Uh, what's needed, Tom, is the type of leadership that I'm not sure if the Kenya police force is really up to the task, but you're going to need a force that's capable of eradicating the gangs. We have the same issue here in the States, it's not as bad, but you
No.
have cities like Chicago where the gangs are out of control, same kind of similar numbers where large number of kids, always young kids, who are dying every weekend or being shot. Um, and the gangs are out of control. There's very little law enforcement in Chicago. Um, their conviction rate for murder is 6%. And when 94% of the people committing murders get away with it, that's not a deterrent to deter people from committing crimes. The same thing in Haiti. I doubt there's very little enforcement of their laws and arrest and conviction of the gang members who are committing these crimes, which is why people are incentivized to become gang members so they can get away with stuff. So what's needed is a force large enough to just go through the island, invade it, and clean it up once and for all. And once you do that, you can kind of do a reset and give the young people a chance to grow up, become leaders, take over the country, and lay a foundation for peace and prosperity. You cannot have peace and prosperity with those gangs at a time. No one's going to invest, try to do anything to generate any kind of peace or commerce in a city, in a country, for the most part, that's run by gangs.
Well, it gets you are correct on several of your points. The other issue is that unfortunately France and Canada and the United States are implicit in the problems that Haiti has had over the years since it gained its freedom. The reality of it is Haiti has no operating government whatsoever. They have no executive branch. The last president was murdered. The United States is implicit in what happened there. There is no executive branch. There are no legislators who are making laws there. And then, of course, there is no judicial branch there as well. So you're correct. There is a complete state of lawlessness. But most of the factors that contribute to this state of lawlessness began and are maintained by forces external to Haiti. And those are other governments who benefit directly from keeping the country stabilized. The reality of it is there are resources there. There is mineral wealth there. There are corporate interests there that it benefits those who are external to Haiti to keep the country destabilized so that they can have unfettered access to those resources. Now, the entire country is not going up in smoke, but the capital is. And that, just like the United States, just like the Washington, D.C. in the United States, is the center, supposedly, of all the decision making. With that being destabilized, with there being absolutely no governance whatsoever, there is no way that you're going to have any stability. And guess what? All those firearms that are over there, guess where the majority of them come from? The United States, Florida in particular. Now, we can find some head of state literally in a hole on the other side of the world, but we sit up here and we allow all of these weapons to go to a small country that has really been debilitated and was literally bribed in order to maintain its freedom, otherwise having to pay tens of billions of dollars to France after it won its freedom in order to basically be destabilized. And it bankrupted the country and it's been bankrupt ever since. And so it is very difficult. It is shameful what countries like the United States, who have benefited, and France, who have benefited directly from the wealth of Haiti, have sat back and allowed that country to fall into a state of misery. Because if this were happening in any other country, any other predominantly white country, there would be hundreds of billions of dollars going over there.
Well, Tom, all that means is that black folks here need to step up their game. If we can't expect white people in America to care about Haiti, they're not going to care about it. So if black people don't care about it here in America, then it's going to be what it is. And as far as the arms, if they don't buy it from us, they'll buy from Mexico, they'll buy from the Russians, they'll buy from the North Koreans, they'll buy from China, they'll buy from someone. So that's, you're not going to stop an import of guns and arms simply because America doesn't sell it to you. So But what they need is strong leadership, someone to take over the country, declare martial law, to raise a military force strong enough to totally eradicate the gangs. I don't care how you have to do it. Start arresting people, shooting people, public executions. I'm okay with all of the above. If the rest of the world is willing to stomach what has to happen and not apply political correctness to a very situation, either you're going to protect your kids and future generations of your country by doing what you have to do, or you're going to let it fall by the wayside, over political correctness. So stabilize the country. Someone steps up to the plate, declare martial law, raise a military force large enough to take out the gangs once and for all. However you have to do it. However we have to look the other way, hold our nose, to tolerate what has to be done is what we have to do in order to give Haiti a chance to grow and be peaceful and for future generations. If not, then it's going to be the same old, same old. But once again, we can't expect white people to care about Haiti. I mean, we saw last time with the earthquakes there. Billions of dollars raised, nothing to show for it, except the Clintons got rich, the Bushes got rich, and the people around them got rich, and the folks in Haiti got $4 billion of nothing. I think they got a stadium out of it, maybe, a swimming pool. But they didn't get $4 billion of economic development. If the government had turned that money over to you and I, Tom, Haiti would be free yesterday. But when you turn the resources over to people who don't give a damn about the country, then these are the results you're going to get.
Well, this is the issue. These countries, France, Canada, United States, aren't going to get out of the way. My take is this: there is no Haitian solution without Haitians being the solution. That is not that everybody is going to represent the interests of the country just because they're Haitian, but the United States, nor France, nor Canada are going to craft a viable solution that will, in essence, give control of the country back to the people of Haiti. And that is the problem. France will not leave Haiti alone. Canada will not leave Haiti alone. United States will not leave Haiti alone because they have interest there. And there are corporate interests from all of those countries that are tied into Haiti. And so unless and until they get out of the way, just like in other countries, it will continue to be destabilized.
Well, Tom, we have given money, though. I mean, let's be all fair.
We know if there's money, there's
$200 million to help stabilize the country. All I'm saying is that you're right. We need a Haitian leader, somebody who understands what needs to happen. Someone that the people elect.
Correct.
To be their leader. But then once he's elected or she's elected, declare martial law, build a military force large enough to eradicate the gangs once and forever. And once you got the country stabilized, then go back to having open elections and establish a foundation of peace and prosperity. Let the world know that, hey, we're open. We're looking for economic development. We have great beaches. These would be great tourist spots. There's opportunity here. And but as long as the gangs are continuing to run things and operate, and with immunity time for the most part, because no one's trying to eradicate them and take them out, Haiti is going to be what it is, man. Haiti's going to be what it is. So,
unfortunately,
it's time to declare war against the gangs, is my point.
Well, for what it's worth, there are gangs in the United States.
And I say the same thing here. It's time to declare war against the gangs here, right. Which is what we're doing to some degree. I wish the folks in Chicago would do the same thing. Say enough is enough. We're tired of our young people being shot, killed, just trying to walk to school, walk the streets, play on the playground, and enough is enough. Bring in the National Guard, the military, whatever you have to do to, once again, if you got to go house to house, street by street, to knock out the gangs, do it. Do whatever you have to do to give future generations a chance. But operating on the political correctness is saying, oh, well, they're just invading our areas now. Well, if your areas are not safe for people to live and for your kids, then maybe they need to be invaded.
Well, the French gang needs to get out of Haiti. And the United States gang needs to get out of Haiti, and the Canadian gang needs to get out of Haiti and allow the people to make decisions for themselves. Because that money,
got out, all you have left is the gangs, man.
That money that the United States gives to Haiti or gives to an African country always has strings tied to it.
Always.
And typically those strings have to do with the leader that we're going to impose upon you all so that we can ensure that our interests are being met. The only solution is a Haitian solution, a solution of the people, not an American solution, not a French Canadian solution, not a Canadian solution, but a Haitian solution for Haitians.
If you want the infusion of money without strings attached, then the folks who are interested need to put a GoFundMe page together and raise hundreds of millions of dollars. A few $1,000s is not going to make a difference. That folks they need billions of dollars to be free, just like folks here in America need billions of dollars to be free also to get our act together. But here's the thing, Tom, we have almost $2 trillion at our disposal, so it's not like we're poor people. We are just not interested in a free Haiti. And that's not
those who benefit from Haiti aren't interested in Haiti being free.
Well, Tom, I mean, okay, they have their interests that they're fighting for, but I'm saying Black folks here have no interest in a free Haiti. You can go through America and probably find more than 1,000 Black folks who'll be willing to put some money up to free Haiti. There's no funds being generated. There's no donations. There's no endowment being set up. There's nothing. There's no economic development from Black folks. Black folks here don't care. And so if we don't care, white folks are not going to be guilted into caring more than we care. Because the way they look at it is that, okay, you're right. If this was a European country, yeah, we have some
hundreds of billions of dollars going there.
We would do, right, but they would do something about it.
Just like they do in Ukraine. Just like they do. Can you imagine the amount of money? If you even give 10% of the money that the United States has contributed to Israel, just 10% of what we've given to Israel, to Haiti, it would be a different story without the strings attached.
Tom, it would be a different story. And if we want that, we can lobby our government to do that. But we don't want that. So there's nobody fighting for Haiti, white, Black, red, or brown.
That is not true. There are groups in the United States and other countries that are fighting for Haiti, but it is a very small group. And obviously the United States does not have most of its strategic interest.
Statistically, these small groups is zero. What I'm talking about, you need critical mass. You need effort from the majority. Okay, let me put it to you an example. The effort that Black folks put into electing Kamala Harris, raising money, going out there to vote, campaigning for the AKs coming together, the sisterhood, the vagina hat folks, man, the Me Too, the Now groups, all of the effort time for an election that's meaningless for the most part. That's the kind of effort it's going to take to free Haiti. If you put that effort into fixing Haiti once and for all, giving the money necessary and the arms necessary for their military and training their military, we put that kind of effort into Haiti, Haiti will be free tomorrow. But Tom, we're not putting that in a few small groups here and there. It's statistically zero. There's no effort whatsoever. So we need critical mass here, not just a few groups. That's what I'm talking about. Let Popeyes go away and see what happens. You get more effort from Black folks to bring Popeyes back than you would for this right here, that did a free Haiti.
Popeyes, Jimmy.
Tom, you had people being shot and stabbed over the chicken sandwich up in New Jersey over Popeyes, running out of chicken sandwiches. So I can only imagine if they were the Copeland. I don't know if Copeland still owns Popeyes or not, but if Copeland shut down Popeyes tomorrow, you'd have folks losing their minds.
Gotcha. All right. Let me see here. We got a couple of items on the chat line. Let's see what we've got here.
What do we have?
Let me see. Lebanon 1983 is a great lesson in the attempted stabilization of a nation split apart by gangs and political adversaries. So when we say Lebanon 1983, we'll probably need to get a little bit more clarification on that. And then also,
that was very bad for Marines, Tom. The barracks are being bombed, and a lot of American soldiers died, fooling with that conflict. And I agree with whoever submitted the chat.
Yeah, that and what was the essence of that for those of you who may not be aware of the Lebanon 1983, and that was Edward Willis who actually submitted that.
Well, I mean, our attempt to try to help stabilize Lebanon. help bring our way of life and democracy to the area, to counteract the influence of the Russians, the Syrians, and North Koreans there. Everything's turf war. And then this would also aid to help provide some stability for Israel as another measure. So, and we're still over there. We're still in Lebanon. We're still in Syria. We're still the country still, the area is still divided up. Everybody has a little turf, and we still have combat soldiers in those areas. So, but the point is that nobody's really in Haiti that way. Haiti is not strategic enough for the powers to go fight over it. For Haiti, they just need to clean up the gangs that run it. In this case, you have militias over in the Middle East that's fighting over over Syria and Lebanon and those areas. Those are, they're fancy gangs. They have big weapons, Tom, and they're well funded. So the militias there versus the gangs in Haiti, you can deal with the gangs. The militias are a little more difficult to deal with.
Well, I would say this: best thing that could happen: get the French, get the United States, who hired the Kenyans to send 1,000 police officers over there who are getting nailed left and right. Get the United States and Canadians and French's grubby hands out of Haiti, and then let the Haitians work it out. Just like you don't see Haitians and Namibians and Nigerians in Europeans' business. Why don't Europeans get out of Africans' business and let them work everything out? I mean, there was such a thing as the Dark Ages in Europe that lasted, a couple hundred or so years while they killed each other and maimed each other until they kind of built their economy. So, they maybe if these other folks get out the way, they can handle their own problems, but they don't want to get out the way.
Okay, so Tom, looking at all of the factors, and evaluating everything, I just came with this solution. That's how I think. So here's the answer for Haiti. You're not going to get private funding from Black folks in America. That's not going to happen. If it was going to happen, it would have happened already. You get limited funds from the U.S. government with a string. So here's what the Haitian government needs to do. Whoever's left over there in charge, pick up the phone and call Putin and ask Putin if he would send an envoy to Haiti to set up a military base, and that you're going to set land aside, infrastructure, and for them to set up a base. And there is no way in the world the U.S. government is going to allow the Russians to come set up a base that close to America. We already have to deal with the Cubans. And so as the Russian envoy comes to look at the land you're going to set aside and help them set up a base, you pick the phone up to Trump and then the Trump administration and say, hey, if you guys help come clean up our country, we will gladly send the Russians away. Else, we have no choice but to align ourselves with the Russians, the North Koreans, and the Chinese because America, Canada, and France are not doing it for us.
Well, for what it's worth, that's an intriguing idea. Some of the African countries are doing it. Maybe
Haiti, one against another, Tom.
Yeah, because the French have been kicked out of some of West African countries. The United States has as well. So that might be a part of the playbook that they can consider.
Well, you look at Jamaica, they've partnered with the Chinese to get a lot of their freeway infrastructure built to connect the island. And so it works if your trading partner in the country that's close to you power-wise, which is the U.S., if they're not going to do it for you, then reach out to their enemy. And so the enemy of your enemy is your friend now. So, yeah, reach out to the Russians and Chinese and see what they'll do for you and play one against the other.
Yep, that's a thought. That's a thought. All right, let's move on. We have about half.
Yeah.
All right, next story that actually we didn't get a chance to go into last week, Jim, and we'll spend a couple of minutes on it, and that is the prevalence of skin whitening, lightening, or bleaching creams that are used pretty prevalently throughout the continent of Africa, with up to almost 80% of women in some countries, in some African countries, using bleaching creams to lighten their skin. Women in Nigeria use skin whitening products, but it's alleged that 77% of Nigerian women use skin lightening cream regularly, according to the World Health Organization. Who knows how accurate that is? In Congo, the figure is close to 66%, Senegal, 50%, and Ghana, 39%, almost 40%. But the Ivory Coast has led the charge against some of these skin bleaching products nationally. Skin lighteners have become a common part of life in communities across the continent, which is home to an estimated 2/3 of the world's Black people. In the late 1960s, by the way, 60% of urban African women reported using the lightening skin. These days, some of the largest countries on the continent use this product regularly. The issue is that some of the chemicals in these skins can be very dangerous. You have a lot of women who even have used it on their children, some of them just being babies, in order to lighten their skins because of its association with social privilege and wealth. Skin lighteners can be damaging, and it is banned in many countries. A chemical agent called hydroquinone and mercury can be very damaging to the skin. Unregulated products have significantly higher quantities of the mercury and hydroquinone than those recommended by dermatologists. So, Jimmy, this has been going on actually for several decades, and it's kind of interesting because I know that in the United States, there was a history of us using skin lightening creams in the early 20th century in order to get privilege. And then, of course, there's this psychology of folks being light, bright, and almost white, being more privileged, even going back to chattel slavery, where those who were lighter skinned got more privilege and more opportunities in the slave master's quarters.
So, Chum, just for clarity, we're not talking about fade cream where you're just trying to give it a spot.
No, we're talking about skin lightening cream.
So you put it all over your body, which the skin is the largest organ in your body.
Correct.
And you're going to put a chemical on there. Mercury is not very good, Tom, for adults. It's certainly not good for infants and children. It leads to brain damage and all kind of neurological disorders. And for you to put that kind of chemicals on the skin of a child or yourself, you have to use this stuff on a regular basis, Tom, for it to work.
Agreed.
When you stop using it, there's a potential that the effect that you're seeking may reverse. What in the hell are all these folks thinking about?
What they're thinking about is the association with wealth, the association with privilege. Let's be very clear. Most of the wealth in Africa is controlled by Europeans who happen to be primarily white. And so in order to get access to better jobs, better opportunities, to be seen as more beautiful, and or to gauge certain privilege, Jimmy, that has been going on for decades upon decades. It of course, happened in the United States. And of course, it is happening in Africa and several continents as well.
Tom, this may not be the motivation, the reason Minister Farrakhan called white people the devil, but let's be honest, and anyone can make you feel bad about who you are when you are endangering yourself and your children in order to change what God made you into. You can't be happy or proud about that. I mean, changing hairstyles, your clothes, accessories, the bling, whatever it is that you want to do to enhance your beauty or your look is one thing, but to use chemicals in this way to alter your appearance is totally another. And you're talking about the psychology of people now, where you're affecting the way they think to make them feel bad about themselves, that they can't be blessed or feel they're blessed by what God gave them, which is bad. That is I'm going to say an evil movement, Tom, that's been propagated on the world, and we've talked about that, Tom. And the reason I'm going to blame white people for this, because inadvertently they may have done this without
inadvertently.
I'm going to give them a benefit of the doubt, Tom, that not all white people understand what's at play here. That their insipid need to be relevant in religion, and I mean throughout history, we talk about this, how they have to insert themselves to be number one, to be the missing link for humanity, to be the providers of our religion, white God, white Jesus, white angels, black devil. Everybody historically, even African history, They put they'll whitewash it. Middle Eastern history, they'll whitewash it. Hell, even the Greeks, which folks don't realize that a lot of those statues were painted brown before all we see is the white, but you don't see the wide nose, the beards, the curly hair. Those folks had a lot of black influence in them. I'm not going to say they were black, but Greece is not that far from Africa. And the Greek people made a point, Tom, to train and get themselves educated in Egypt. Before Pythagoras came along with his theorem about right angles, the Egyptians had already been building a pyramid for 1,000 years using right angles. The math, and Plato spent 12 years in Africa going to the university. Everyone who is someone in Greek history trained in Africa and Egypt at their schools. And so Egypt,
before they went back and destroyed them and burned them down.
Yes, during the Dark Ages, the libraries and the schools were burned down by the Europeans, by Napoleon, by the French, as part of their stupidity. But the point is, Tom, is that white folks have always had this need, insipid need, to be relevant everywhere. Everywhere they go, they have to be somehow the driving force for everything. And most average white folks don't realize that this is what they're doing. The entire group collectively, this is what they're doing. And so and this is why they think they have to save the world. Even when it comes down to UFOs, and we've talked about this jokingly, there are no black aliens. All the aliens are either white, they're reptilians, they're birds, they're insects like praying mantis. Are you telling me black folks are the mother and father of humanity here on Earth? The same elements that created intelligent life here is prevalent throughout the universe: carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, iron. These are silicon. These are things that make up a human body, and it's found in abundance throughout the universe. So there's a good chance of intelligent life developed here with black people on this planet. Throughout the trillions of planets out there, Tom, there are probably trillions upon trillions of black folks also that develop the same way, and yet there's not one black alien that decides to come here and want to mix with us through a hybrid program. Once again, everywhere, every aspect of history, archaeology, everything, they make themselves the relevant force that they are it on the universe. And if the science doesn't support that, Tom, they'll fake the science, they'll adjust the science to make themselves relevant. And unfortunately, we have bought into this lie thinking that maybe there's some truth to it. Unfortunately, far too many of our people and our women and our kids are being affected by this, thinking that somehow white is right. We're not realizing that you are the center of the universe. God made you exactly where you're supposed to be. You were around for 300,000 years before white people even hit the stage. White people are just a recent development in the last 8,000 to 10,000 years, Tom. Black folks have been Homo sapiens walking around for at least 300,000 years. So we have much richer history and culture than they do, but yet somehow we turn to white people as the blueprint for how humanity should look, operate, and think.
Well, Jimmy, you brought up several interesting points. I want to acknowledge a couple of people who are on the line. A couple of them have comments. We want to make sure we acknowledge them. We want to, Miss Chastity got on a little bit earlier. Good evening. We want to thank you for joining us, Miss Chastity. Got a couple of comments I want to acknowledge. In America, you did have the skin lightening era where you had MB. Y'all remember Amy Skin products made to lighten the skin and also take care of the skin. We did.
No, that's face cream, though.
And then Ms.
Right?
seeking external validation instead of embracing the core essence within. She mentioned Ambi, I guess is the name of the product.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. I have some. I mean, it's a spot. I know people are using trying to lighten their whole body.
Yeah, Ambi was the company that led the charge for skin lightening for African American women and men. So America did have a slight issue. However, Africa as a whole is different. Some people are so desperate they shrink themselves to fit in other folks' spaces. So I mean, I find it interesting that the largest land in Nigeria, by the way, has the largest population of people of any country on the African continent, and it has, I guess there's 3/4. That means 3 out of 4. They're suggesting 3 out of every 4 women are using skin lightening or skin bleaching cream in order to associate themselves with wealth, power, privilege, and or beauty, which shows how onerous and toxic the Eurocentric perspective on wealth, power, and beauty is
I thought
overall.
Nigeria was fairly. I mean, I thought Nigeria was fairly wealthy from the oil revenue.
You know, they are.
Are they that tied to Europe? Were they? Were
Well,
the Europeans having such
they,
an impact on their society?
they were colonized by the British, but the reality of it is most of the wealth is actually extracted, refined, and owned and built from European countries and their European corporate organizations. And when you look at jobs, when you look at opportunities, when you consider access to wealth, power, and privilege, that usually doesn't look black, with a few exceptions. Yes, we do have billionaires who own mining companies on the African continent. But I was looking at a chart. Thank you, Uncle Asar, for sending that. There were 3 times as many white billionaires on the African continent than there are black. And I
You're
was
kidding me.
no,
Oh, I didn't know that.
among the wealthiest,
Right, you talking about the wealthiest.
among the wealthiest, there were 3 times more Europeans than there were Africans. I
Okay.
thought that was stunning. I thought that, but getting back to the original premise, I thought it stunned me, and I remember this. I had just forgotten how prevalent it was that the most the most African-centric landmass has the most prevalent use of bleaching cream in order to make them look more European.
When you shared the story with me, I was floored, man. I couldn't believe it. Because I mean, you and I grew up during the Black Power movement, in the '60s, '70s, that spilled over into the '80s, and I just thought there was a lot more Black pride than. I mean, this is a blow to mind. I'm gonna have to rethink some things now. That we have this many Black folks on a large scale. We ain't talking about a few here and there. We're not talking about some spots and evening out your complexion. We're talking about bleaching your entire body.
Yep.
And that cannot be healthy with the chemicals that, I mean, fade cream was for spots.
Right.
In a limited basis to get rid of spots here and there. Because we all have blemishes. We all have bumps that we scratch and they turn into little black spots that you may want to put a little fade cream on. But that's on a limited basis. It was not designed for you to be trying to fade your entire body. That's way too many chemicals that you're exposing the largest organ in your body, which is your skin, which is all that's been absorbed into your skin, Tom, and then the long-term effects of that can't be good.
No, it's not. We'll have to be in prayer for brothers and sisters across the world, on the African continent, in the Caribbean, in the United States. This is a psychopathy that leads to no place good. We are the original people, and everything else came from the genes of an African woman, a Black African woman. And everybody else actually knows this. And unfortunately, we have been propagandized to believe that there is something wrong with being the original and the best and the most beautiful.
Well, Tom, I mean, everybody knows it, but it doesn't stop archaeologists and other scientists from continue to look for the missing link. I follow a lot of their research. I just saw a symposium a couple of weeks ago where this paper was submitted to try to say that maybe Europeans populated Africa rather than Africa populating Europe, because they found one tool and one jawbone of a Homo sapien in Spain, and you found thousands of evidence dating back 300,000 years from modern day humans in Africa, and tools that they developed all over Africa. But you find one in Spain, and that leads you to believe that somehow maybe Europeans populated Africa rather than Africa populating Europeans. I mean, this is extreme. This is how extreme they're willing to go to with these ridiculous theories in order to make themselves relevant. They really want to be humanity's missing link. The fact that they came from us does not sit well with them. I'm telling you, they're going to continue to look and look and look. It's the only reason that this science even exists is to find that missing link.
Yep. All right, Jimmy, we've got about 10 minutes left.
What
So
do we
we
have left?
couple of other items, Jimmy, and then we will call it a wrap for the day. Found this article, which I found to be very interesting. With long flowing wigs and weave extensions, though long flowing wigs and weave extensions have dominated the catwalks of Ivory Coast popular beauty pageants for years, contestants in the West African nation also spend a huge amount of money on their appearance, from outfits to hairdos, with very few choosing the natural look. In more than 6 decades, there have only been two notable exceptions. The most recent was Marlene Kani Kusai, who took the Miss Ivory Coast title in 2022, looking resplendent with her short natural hair, the crown becoming her only adornment. Her victory was not only unusual in Ivory Coast, but across the world, where Western beauty standards are often desired look, both for those entering contests and for the judges. Changes are slowly creeping in. Last December, from the French Caribbean island of Martinique, Angelique and Garni Philippon made headlines when she was crowned Miss France. Mainly because of her age, she is 34, and she also sported a short afro hairstyle. But this year, the organizers of the Ivorian competition are shaking things up right from the start. Wigs, weaves, and hair extensions have been banned
Good.
on the preliminary stages of the competition, which are held in 13 cities across the country. They said, we want the candidates to be natural, whether with braids or straightened hair, it should be their own.
Right.
Beauty must be raw. This is from the organizing committee. Also, this change in criteria is because we observed young women were putting up a lot of money to participate, and it was becoming a budgetary strain. I would see other girls with long artificial hair and they look beautiful, one young lady said. This rule gives me more pride as a woman, as an African woman. The move aimed at celebrating natural African beauty has sparked a lively debate across the country, where wigs and extensions are popular and the norm.
But Tom, all hairstyles on a woman could be attractive. Long hair, twisties. If you have dreads, braids, especially some of the intricate designs that some of these hairstyles incorporate. But whatever it is, be proud of what you have and make it yours. You don't have to be ashamed of your hair, your skin color, or the way you look. That's how God made you. Then make the most of it. Accessorize it, enhance it, but make it yours. And I'm glad to see that some of these folks are starting to push back on this craziness, Tom, because and yeah, we have to be bold enough, be willing to go out there, put ourselves out on social media, magazines, to put the imagery of the African look out there to make it acceptable, as opposed to being bombarded all the time with European standards of beauty, and then we trying to force a round round peg into a square hole, or a square opening. So our European standards on us may not fit all the time, um, but whatever it is that does fit for us, then make it work for us. Be proud of it.
Exactly. And the reality of it is, God didn't make no mistakes.
Right.
And when we know who God made as the first on earth, and for tens of hundreds of thousands of years, we know who that was. And the reality of it is, Jimmy, we have to understand our history. We have to embrace our love for ourselves and who we are originally. There's nothing wrong with, trying to twist up things here and there just to do something a little bit different. We know the sisters like to change their hairstyles and stuff like that. But when you look at the chemicals that are infused into your hair that can burn your scalp.
Go through the scalp, yes. Once again, going through your skin, being absorbed into the body.
Exactly that. All the makeup that clogs up your pores and things of that nature. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work so well after decades and decades of overexposure. And the reality of it is, there is no one, regardless of color, who is inherently better, inferior, or superior. But we do know who is the first, and we know what the
Tom, I'm
original.
going to disagree with you slightly there.
Okay.
I'm going to give a shout out to Black people here in America.
Okay.
We are, I'm going to say, slightly superior. And I'm going to give you the argument why.
Okay. I'm listening.
Because when you look at the roundup of some East Africans, mostly West Africans, Central, from all the different tribes that we were rounded up from, brought to America. And our bloodline is mixed here more than any other black folks around the world. We are the culmination of African tribes throughout Africa. And there's no black folks in the world that can say that. We carry the DNA of most of Africa, more so than Africans carry their own DNA, because each and every one of us is related, connected, interbred. I imagine if you go back and do a DNA on all of the black folks in America, you find out how connected we are. And we carry all of that, all of those tribes, Tom, all of the blood mixing, all of the interbreeding that took place here to go from 600,000 imported slaves to 20 million was a lot of breeding that's taking place. And we
call it what it is, rape.
And we carry, we carry that DNA, Tom, of all the African tribes that were kidnapped and brought here. So we are unique in that feature that you go to Africa, they have a lot of division. Folks can tell you, well, I'm from this group, I'm from that group, I'm from this tribe, I'm from that tribe. And there's not a lot of mixing of their DNA from tribe to tribe. A lot of them are very tribe proud, whereas the African American or the black person in America, we carry all of that African DNA with us, and it's combined. And so that makes us the best features of all those tribes, and all that mixing is what you see in black folks in America. We are the enhancement. We are the culmination of the combining of all of the greatness of Africa into one group of people, and that's black folks here in America. So black folks, be proud of who you are. You are a walking history book in a laboratory. You carry the history of your ancestors, not just here in America, but from most of Africa. You carry all of that DNA also that's been combined in you. So the best of Africa is what exists in you, everyday person. So this is why you run a little faster. This is why you're a little stronger, a little smarter. Use the attributes that God gave you, which is the best of Africa, and use that to your advantage, Tom. You don't have to be ashamed of it. It's something you need to be proud of.
And is that the reason why the U.S. government and corporate America historically worked so hard to try to depress the capability and the results of folks here, Jim? Is that the reason why?
That's the reason, Tom, because and a lot of that, if you look at Bible prophecy, it doesn't help that there's no history that the Jews in Israel now, the chosen people, all the history points to the African Jew being God's chosen people. And the promise of God to his chosen people is that you will have dominion over the world if you just get right. That was the original covenant. And there are a lot of Europeans throughout history who believe in that covenant with black Jews and black people, which most of them are now here in America, been rounded up and brought to America. And so, Tom, once we realize who we are, God's chosen people, the mother and father of humanity, and that we carry the best of Africa, of all of that is in us. Once we realize how great we really are and start doing the things that we're supposed to do, we become a force backed by God and the promise of God to have dominion over the earth. That is a scary proposition, Tom. That's why folks have to work so hard to make sure that we stay ignorant to who we are and that we stay suppressed.
All right, Jimmy. And within 1 minute, let's wrap up the NCAA women and men's final.
We can take a couple extra minutes to go over, but go ahead.
Okay, let's start out with the NCAA women's final. You have UConn over South Carolina.
Both
in a dominant fashion.
Yeah, both of them are great schools, Tom, great programs. I found myself cheering for South Carolina just because their coach, man,
right.
in the history of the program there. But you can't dismiss the powerhouse of UConn either, man. Both of these are just basketball juggernauts for women.
Absolutely. But congratulations to Gino Auriemma and UConn for the women's final champion. And then, of course, the men's final. You had Florida over University of Houston. Man,
it was Tom. You have a championship game, and you could barely score 60 points. A lot of turnovers, a lot of missed shots, close game throughout, man. So a lot of defense. And I know defense wins championships. You hear it over and over. But the reality is, Tom, is scoring is exciting. I mean, you want to see for a championship game. It would be nice if they could have pushed that into the 80s. Hit a lot more threes and baskets exchange, having runs, 6, 8, 10-point runs back and forth, man. That would add some drama as opposed to keeping the game close. A lot of defensive prowess on both sides, man. A lot of missed shots. The game just dragged down to the very end, and it was so disappointing the way it ended. And I guess if the game had ended differently with Houston being able to get a shot off, win or lose, you make the basket, you win. You lose the 3-point shot, you win, or you miss it and lose. That would have added a little excitement. But to end the game, time on a turnover, you only get to take the last shot.
That was disappointing.
That was icing on the cake.
I would say if you're going to go out swinging, go out. Yes. If you missed a shot, you missed a shot. But for you to lose on a turnover when you got 19 seconds left in the game, my congratulations to the Florida Gator Nation and my condolences, University of Houston. That is a horrible way to win. Horrible way to lose. I'd rather lose by 15 points than to lose on a failed execution.
Yes, that is true.
And no shot.
I agree with you there. It was much better when it was a blowout loss as opposed to the way the Houston executed down the stretch. I mean, they took far too long bringing the ball up the court, Tom. I was thinking they would rush the ball up, get off a good shot,
right?
Give themselves time, because they led the nation offensive rebounds. Give yourself enough time that if you were able to get the rebound and miss, you can get a second shot. You're not going to get you didn't even get one shot, Tom. With 19 seconds left, you blew all that damn time. Then you rushed at the end, up in the air with nowhere to go, can't take the shot, and turn the damn ball over. Game over.
That was devastating.
Yes.
That's all I can say. All right, folks, that is it. That was our wrap up for the day. We've got everything in. We want to thank you for joining us this evening. And
Tom, any stories for next week that we want to advertise?
You know what? We'll wait until next week, Jimmy. There's always, something going on. So
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, we're good. So, folks, we will see you next Wednesday. We want to thank you for joining us this evening. And Jimmy, if it's Wednesday night,
it's Black Man Speak. So
good night.